Hello everyone, this is Bob Ryan from the Shed app to tell you about a new feature that helps your shed business benefit from Webhooks. Using Webhooks, the Shed app can communicate seamlessly with any compatible third-party app or program and increase your team's efficiency and your business's profitability. Webhooks make it simple for different online applications to speak to each other automatically when something important occurs. For example, they can be used to let your CRM know that a new quote has been created in the Shed app, or even to let QuickBooks know that an invoice has been created or updated. There are a wide array of third-party applications that businesses can benefit from, and each does things a little differently. You can't be an expert in all of them, and you don't have to be. Often, a go-between application like Zapier or Make is used to make it easier to translate a webhook from one application to another. To demonstrate how webhooks work in the Shed app, I'll navigate to Systems, and then Settings, and then click on Notifications. You'll see here that we've got webhooks available. So let's click on that and see what's there. Alright, so this view provides a space for a list of all my endpoints. Endpoints are locations where the Shed app sends the webhook, and typically they need to be created in the application that is receiving the webhook. Again, there are several platforms that can be used, but we've selected Zapier for this example. I've created a Zapier account already, and I'll switch to that now. You might choose to use a different platform, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time explaining how to use Zapier. I'll quickly move through the steps to create an endpoint, and then add that endpoint to the Shed app. Zapier uses what it calls zaps. I'll come up here and choose zaps and then click on Create and New Zap. Now on this page I'm going to click on Trigger and then I'll select Webhooks by Zapier. This is a premium feature in Zapier, meaning it requires a subscription. Alright, now I'm going to choose an event. First, I'll select Catch Hook. I'll click on Continue and then Continue again. And here, Zapier has provided a test endpoint for my webhook. That's this URL right here. I'll copy it and then take it over and insert it into the Shed app. Now, returning to the Shed app, I'll go up here and click on Add Endpoint. Let's call this endpoint Zapier QuickBooks. And here, I'm going to paste the endpoint URL Zapier provided. I'll also add an email, which will be used to alert someone on your team if something goes wrong with this endpoint. That's an important step. Down below here, we have several pre-selected events such as Process Order, Fulfill Order, and others. We'll be expanding this list of events over time. For our tutorial, I'll select Process Order, which means that as long as this webhook is active, it will deliver a package of data to the endpoint whenever an order is processed. Alright, now I'll go over and click on Save and Close. Okay, so here we've got two tabs. We have Logs, which are a record of all the events that we intend to be delivered to this specific endpoint, and their status. The other tab takes us back over to the settings for the webhook. To see how all this works, I've created a new order to use as an example. I'll navigate over here to the dashboard. Here's the order I've created. Let's process it and then go back over to our webhook and check the log. Again, I'm going to click on Settings, Notifications, and then Webhooks. And here's the webhook we just created. I'm showing two others on this page so you can see what it looks like when a webhook has an error, but right now, let's focus on the one we just created. I'm going to click on the View icon here, and you see in the log that when we processed the order, a package of data was automatically delivered to Zapier via this webhook. I'm going to flip back over to Zapier, and we'll see if Zapier received our data. We do that by clicking on Test Trigger. Now you see here, this is the information that was sent to Zapier from the Shed app. All we did was process the order, but when we did, the webhook was triggered, and the data was sent automatically. Now remember, Zapier is just a go-between. It sends the data on to wherever we ultimately want it used. Now I can click here on Actions to tell Zapier where I want them to send the data. I'm going to select QuickBooks. When I do, Zapier presents me with a list of event options available in QuickBooks. I select the event, and Zapier will automatically tell QuickBooks what I want done with the data. Let's just say we want QuickBooks to create an invoice. We select that, and then you can continue with the prompts that complete the process in Zapier. And there you go. You've just automated the steps between processing an order and creating an invoice. Now before we end, I want to take a look at what happens when errors occur. I'm going to come back over here to the Shed app, and I'll go back to my Webhooks log. Let's take a look at one of the webhooks that shows an error. I've got one here to send specific data to HubSpot. You'll see here that for some reason this webhook failed to send the data to the endpoint, which means it never got to HubSpot. So I'll need to find out what's wrong and then resend these. Now because I know that I put a fake endpoint in here for the purposes of this video, I know already the problem is an invalid endpoint. In most cases, if you have a webhook that failed to send, it will take a little technical expertise to troubleshoot the problem. We need to correct the endpoint. Once you've corrected the issue, in most cases you'll want to resend the webhook. You can do that by coming back to Logs and clicking on the Resend icon. Once you've gone through this process a few times, you'll find it's fairly easy, and the efficiency your business gains from automating processes this way will be an enormous benefit. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time with more simplified Shed stuff.